Hey, this is part 3 of the CDJ Tips and Tricks series. If you haven't watched part 1 and part 2, I strongly recommend that you watch them as well. But in this one, we are going to talk about scratching hacks. That's right, not just tips and tricks, but hacks as well. Let's jump right into it. What's good, you guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Deep and this is where I do a lot of DJing and tech related tutorials, tips and tricks to help you become a better DJ and to help you get better at using technology. So if you're new here and if you want to join the DB crew, please consider subscribing. Finally, we are at part 3 of the series CDJ Tips and Tricks. In the first series, I spoke about 10 things that you probably didn't know the CDJs can do. And the second part was 10 more things that the CDJs can do that not a lot of people know. And in this third series, I'm going to talk about some hacks along with some CDJ tips and tricks. You guys are going to love this. So please don't forget to watch this video till the end because there is a lot to learn from this video. Alright, so the first thing that I'm going to teach you today is a hack. A hack with which you can start scratching today. Even if you don't have a lot of practice on scratching, or even if you have no experience with scratching on the CDJs, you can actually use the Q button to scratch, and that is what I'm going to teach you first, and that is Q scratching. Now let me show you how a scratch normally sounds without the Q button. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I'm not going to use the crossfader, I'm not going to use the platter, I'm not even going to touch the platter, I'm going to just scratch using the Q button. Now this is a hack, it's not the right way to do it, but for you to get started, you can use this, but don't think that this is the right way and just don't keep doing this. Try to learn the real art as well, but till then, here's a hack for you. Alright, and that is how you Q scratch. Now instead of just using the Q button, you can also use the tempo adjust fader to change the way your scratch sounds. Okay, now when you do the scratching with just your platter, okay, with just your hand and the platter, you can do things like, okay, and you can also do, okay, and you can also do, okay, so all those different kind of sounds can be created with the platter. But if you're not comfortable with the platter, you can achieve a similar effect. Again, it's a hack, a similar effect using the tempo adjust fader, and I'm going to show you how to do that. What you need to do for that is to put your tempo fader in wide mode. Okay, right now it's plus and minus 10. You press this button and then go to wide mode. Okay, also make sure that your master tempo is off, because if your master tempo is not off, you will not get the sound of the pitch changing. Okay, now I'm going to show you how that sounds. You can actually do that with the platter, but instead of using the platter, you can also use, okay, and that is basically the same thing, but instead of the platter, you can use the tempo adjust fader. Now this, again, as I mentioned, is a hack. That is not the right way of scratching. It's a hack so that you can at least start doing something except just mixing two tracks. Add a bit of a flair, add a bit of the flavor, and you should sound like a pro. And so on. Alright, so the next thing that I'm going to teach you is to use the platter along with the Q scratch. Now what is a baby scratch? A baby scratch is just moving your hand forward and backward on the scratch sound. Okay, this is how that sounds. Okay, and that is a baby scratch. Now, you are not using the mixer, you're not going to use the fader. Usually that's the professional way to do it, but if you are not familiar with the art of scratching, what you can do is use the Q button, as I just showed you, to be able to do the cuts. Okay, and then you also add the platter and essentially converts that baby scratch into a bit more professional. Not very professional, but definitely sounding much better than just using the platter. So you combine them both and you get something like this. And so on. I mean, you can do a lot of things. This is not the right way, as I said, but it's a hack to start sounding professional with your scratching. Or even if you're starting to just scratch now, you can learn these techniques to start, because if your interests build in this, you will automatically learn all the other real way of scratching. Now, as I said, this is a hack. This is not the right way to do this, but you can still achieve the sound of the professionals using these hacks. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to talk about is to be able to change the mode of the player. I'm not talking about the vinyl and the CDJ mode. I'm talking about the single and continuous mode on the player. Now this is actually important for DJs who are learning scratching. You must be able to go back to, you know, a previous point in the track to be able to scratch correctly. Okay, right now if you can see this player and if you can see this track, okay, when I move the platter backwards, it goes to a certain distance and then it stops going back. Okay, if you can see, it's not going back anymore, and that is when you'll not be able to achieve the right scratching sound, because it will not feel natural to how, you know, a vinyl player actually sounds. Okay, so this is how it will sound. But what you should be able to do is that you should be able to move your hand a bit more backwards so that you're able to do the whole scratch sound correctly. Okay, to change the play mode, what you do is you press on the menu button, long press on it, and then you can see the play mode, which is the first option. Then click on it and change from single to continue. Okay, now when you do this, this is what happens. Okay, now when I move the platter backwards, it will keep going back as well. See? What it is actually doing is it's going back to the previous track, and that is when you'll be able to move a bit more behind to be able to start on track. See? Okay, and that is how you can change the play mode from single to continue. Okay, another advantage of this is if you have a few tracks that are lined up in your tag list and you want them to play one after the other, you can actually put it in continuous mode and you can turn off the auto cue mode. Okay, and then you hit the first song, it starts playing, but when it goes to the end, okay, let's just say right now it's in the end, it will automatically go to the next track. Let me show you, it'll automatically go to the next track as soon as it's over. Okay, and that is the difference. Okay, now if you have it in continuous mode, if you create like a playlist in the tag list, automatically all your tracks will play one after the other. If you're a resident DJ, this is particularly helpful when you're too early to the club and the people have still not come and you don't have a mixtape. You can actually select a few tracks and then you can just leave it in the continuous mode, play the first track, and automatically all the tracks within the tag list or the playlist will play one after the other. But always make sure that your auto cue is off and your continuous mode is also on. If it is in single mode and if your auto cue is off, it will not go to the next track. Okay, and that is the difference between single and continuous mode. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to talk about is the beat jump feature on the CDJs and how to use it. Okay, now what beat jump is, it is that it actually jumps your beats from where it is playing to where you want it to be. Now this feature was always there in Tractor and Serato, and it was always there in the REKORDBOX DJ software as well, but it was actually not there on the players, and this is probably the only player from Pioneer DJ that has this feature. After this came the XDJ series, and that has this feature as well. Obviously all your controllers have it, but having that on a player is also an advantage. Now what that does is, if you're playing a certain track and if you want to move, 4 or 8 beats or even 16 beats forward, you can do that by the press of a single button and it will always be on time. Let me show you how that's done. To activate, basically you'll click on the beat jump button and then you will see that the 2, 4, 8 and 16 light up. That's moving forward. The backward the backward buttons will light up after you move a certain distance in the track. Let me play and show you how that works. If you can see the indicator where the current track is, you'll see that it's actually moving quite fast and quite ahead with just a flick of one button. So let's just press the 16 this time. And that is how you can move forward and backward. Now, this is a great feature, obviously, but how is it helpful? You can actually use this feature to also help you correct your mistakes while performing. Imagine you're actually performing and you're at the end of the phrase of the current track that is playing and you forgot to press the play button at the right time and you've missed the phrase and you'll have to wait for the next phrase, but the track is ending. You don't have to wait for the entire phrase to finish. What you can do is press play at the next possible beat, okay, and then move those many beats ahead. For example, you're at the beginning, let's just say that you're over here. Oh, yeah. At that kick point, I was supposed to press the play button on this to be able to mix in phrase. But if I miss it, I'll wait for 4 or 8 more beats and then correct it later. Let me show you how that is. Oh, yeah. I press play at the 4th beat. It's not in phrase, but what I will do is press the 4 button here. And I will move 4 beats ahead and my mistake is corrected. Now both my tracks are again in sync and in phrase because of the beat jump feature. Start using that feature, guys. It's an amazing feature. If you're not able to press play at the right time, you will be able to correct your mistakes with beat jump. Alright, so the next thing that I'm going to show you today is how to change the view of the phase meter. Now there are 2 ways to do this, but I'm surprised that even now, people ask me in my inbox messages once or twice a week about how to change the phase meter. I mean, it's actually very easy. I'm going to show you how to do that now. What a phase meter is this display on the top. Okay, right now it's showing boxes. The other view is the lines. Now to change that, there are 2 ways. You can press on the shortcut button and then you can see that the phase meter has 2 types, type 1 and type 2. Okay, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is the boxes, type 2 is the grid and the lines. Now what this does is it will tell you if your track is in phrase or not. But that is one way. The other way is the easy way. All you can do is just tap on it. Changes from squares to bars. And that is very simple. Now I'm still surprised how a lot of people don't know this. It's an amazing thing to have. I mean, the lines actually give you a much more precise correction if you're mixing with your eye and not your ear. But then yeah, this is how you do that. Tap on it and you can easily change the phase meter. Alright, so the next thing that I'm going to teach you today is how to rate your tracks on the CDJs. Now rating will help you when you want to, sort your music, and whenever you are performing and if you realize that this track is actually responding very well with the crowd or it's working really well with the crowd, you can actually rate it so that when you go back home you can see all the tracks that you have rated and you'll know all the tracks that are that you have given stars to, like 4 or 5 or 3 or whatever. You can basically rate your tracks. Now I'm going to show you how to do that on the players. To do that, you need to click on the info button and then scroll down where you see the stars. Right now all the stars are blank because this track is not rated yet. Okay, now how to rate this is you go to that section and long press on the rotatory knob and then it will start blinking. That is when you can rotate it, and if you can see right now it's 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star and 5 star. Okay, this track, I really like this track. I think I'm gonna give this 4 ratings. Okay, so 4 stars, and then when you select 4 stars, tap on it again and that will be registered into your pen drive's REKORDBOX memory. And when you put this pen drive in, automatically this information will be added to REKORDBOX. And that is how you can rate your tracks on the CDJs while performing. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to teach you is how to filter your playlist according to how you want to play. Okay, for example, when you have a playlist with music from different genres or different BPMs. Let's just consider BPMs for now. Let's just say that you have a playlist with different BPMs all the way from 90 BPM to 150 BPM. But right now you're performing on 100 BPM. Okay, now there is a way to filter your playlist by BPM, by key, by rating, color, and all those amazing things. And by doing that, what happens is when you're performing in 100 BPM, only the tracks which are 100 BPM will be shown. Obviously, you can use the BPM sorting option, but you can also do multiple layers with filter option, like adding BPM and key together. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do that. To do that, what you need to do is long press on the track filter button. Okay, when you long press on it, this window will open up. Okay, this section or this screen will open up. In here you can see that the BPM right now is set to 123, but what we need is 100 because we're performing on 100 BPM right now. Also, what you can do is you can add plus or minus 6% of your BPM so that your tracks from 95 and 105 will also be visible. Okay, so that is, you can change that. When you're performing in 100 BPM, 95 can be speeded up to 100 and 105 can be speeded down to 100 to match the BPM correctly. Okay, and that is, I'm going to put it as 100, then I'm going to put it at plus or minus 6%. And another thing that I will do is, let's just say that I want to add the key. When you have related key activated, all the tracks which are actually in relation to that current track that is playing will also be displayed. Rating, if you can see, I can activate rating and I can actually sort my music. I showed you how to rate your tracks on the player. You can actually have all your tracks which are 5-star rate showed in the playlist, only the tracks which you give 5-star. But right now I have not rated all my tracks, so this is not something that I'm going to use. The next thing is the color. That is something very interesting, but it is actually, you'll have to do this on your REKORDBOX first and then on the player. So color I'm not going to touch. BPM and key. Okay, now when this is done, all I need to do is go back, and right now if you can see that 94, 99, 100 is visible. But the minute I select a track, all I need to do is tap on the filter button, and all the tracks which are from 100, see, did I show you 94 and then only till 106 because we chose 6%, right? Instead of 5%, 106 to 94, 94 to 106 are visible because this playlist has at least 1,000 tracks. But because I use the filter option, now only the tracks which are from 94 to 106 will be visible. If you want to go back from here, you just have to tap the track filter button once. Can you see that little icon there where there is like a funnel that gets deactivated, and now all your tracks will be visible. And when you're performing, and if you want only the tracks, for example in C minor, you can again just go here, select on the key, click C minor or E flat, and then you can click on the track, and only the C minor and the related tracks will be visible. And that is how you use the filter or the track filters option on the CDJs. Okay, so this last one is actually a bonus tip for you guys because you guys watched this video till the end. Okay, now in this I'm going to show you how to create a auto loop. Okay, auto loop basically means that when you're performing your track, when it reaches to a certain section in the track, it can be anywhere in the track. It can be in the beginning, in between, or in the end. Okay, when you reach that certain section, the player automatically cues that section so that you don't have to do it manually. And basically, if it's a routine that you always do when you perform, this will be helpful because you don't have to do that step of looping in and looping out every time. One step less, so that you can actually concentrate on creativity and less on getting the timing right. Okay, now let me show you how that works. I'm going to play this track, and if you notice, when it reaches this section here, automatically it's gonna go into a loop. I'm not gonna touch the player. You can see it on the camera. I'm gonna start playing. Okay, this is the intro. When it reaches this section, did you see? The loop is activated. You can see that the loop lights are blinking, and you can see that the yellow bar is activated. See? And that's how it'll keep looping. I didn't have to do anything. All I had to do is search for my track, okay, and go to that particular track, select it, and right now if you can see, of course I have my other loops here. Okay, I showed you how to use the hot cue to actually save a loop, but this is not the same thing. This is a different thing. When you reach that certain section, your loop is activated automatically. I'm going to show you once again. I hit the play button, and when I reach that section, it'll loop automatically.
Go shawty, it's your birthday.
Did you see that?
We gonna party like.
And now that is going to remain in that 16 bar loop that I've created earlier. Now, how to do this is not on the player, okay? You'll have to do this on the REKORDBOX software, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Basically, what you do is when you go into REKORDBOX, okay, and then you go to that section which you want to loop, okay, from here to 16 beats, right? Done. 16 beats selected, and then what you do is you add that to a memory point. You can actually click on any of these empty boxes here, okay? Because this is already created over here, it'll be over here. Then when you see, if you can see the difference, this is a yellow loop and this is a red loop, because the red one is an active loop and the second one, which is a yellow loop, is a non-active loop. All you need to do is tap on it and it'll change color from yellow to red. When it changes to red, it'll loop automatically when your track reaches that particular section, and that is called the active loop. And that is it, guys. This was part 3 of the series in which we spoke about a lot of CDJ related tips and tricks. And guess what, guys, I'm gonna do a similar series of the DJM 900 Nexus 2 mixer as well. Yes, there are a lot of things that the DJM 900 Nexus 2 mixer can do, but it's not popular and not everybody uses the DJM 900 Nexus 2 to its full potential as well. So if you like watching this video, I'm sure that you will love that video as well. Also, if you haven't watched part 1 and part 2 of this series in which there are a lot of CDJ tips and tricks, I strongly recommend that you do that, because there is a lot more to learn apart from just the things that you learned today. I will link them down in the description box and you must watch those videos right after this. So this is where I ask you to please hit that subscribe button and hit on that bell icon to get notified every time I upload a new video. That's been it. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video today. I will see you guys in the next one. Happy to help.